How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Coffee and Critique. It's been a long time since we came back, but we got you a special guest. We have Sara Viteri, and she is going to talk about her writing process and also, work she's done producing projects. So today we bring you to the floor. Sara, let the audience know a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sara Viteri. I currently work as the producer and a writer, and I'm also an actress and a spokesmodel.
Oh, sweet. So how long have you been doing that?
I have lots of years. I've been producing for about 8 years, writing my whole life, an actress for over maybe 2 decades, actress and model. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in entertainment since I can remember.
Wow. So what did you feel like? What got you through in terms of acting? Like, did you go into acting, into writing, or did you always were writing and then you were acting at the same time?
I always wrote. I loved writing. I used to write whenever the teacher would ask us to write creative stories. Mine would be like pages long because I would get into the characters and the plot, but I didn't really consider myself a writer. My whole goal was always to be an actress. I wanted to be a star. So I never actually thought I would become a producer or a writer per se. I always thought my career would just blossom as an actress or a model. But like I said, I've been doing this almost my whole life. So the more I worked on set, the more I worked with directors and producers, the more I became passionate about creating my own projects and having the creative control of those projects. Because when I was in a runway show or I was on set, I'd be like, oh, I would love to do something like this, or I'd love to do this. But I never really was like, oh, I'd love to do that, but I'm not going to do it, until one day I just said, you know what, let me create something myself and see what happens. And I did, and it just started spiraling and spiraling. I started growing, and I didn't even know I was a producer. I was just like, oh, I'm just putting productions together. And they're like, you're a producer.
Like, that's how it works. It's that easy.
Yeah. And then I just kept going, and I blossomed into a producer. And my first time sharing my writing was with my short film, Life Happens, Then You Cry. I had never shared my writing with people before, maybe my poems, but as far as thinking of myself as a writer and saying, hey, let's bring this to life, I never took that chance until my short film.
And what's your short film about?
My short film is it's a serial comedy about friendships, relationships, and it's called Life Happens, Then You Cry. So about the trials of having relationships, and then the beauty of getting over the humps that come your way.
And in that process of writing stuff, because it has to come from some kind of piece of your life. Now,
yes.
Did you, when you were kind of constructing it all together, obviously writers, they follow like a formula, a structure. Did you find it difficult to put that writing piece together, translate it for the audience to connect to, opposed to you understanding the situation?
Well, I actually, again, because I never really considered myself a writer, I didn't really have a process. I was inspired one day after doing a shoot with another fellow producer, and I was the model. We were shooting at this beautiful gallery, and my friend at the time was the director of that gallery. So I was there, I was shooting, I was looking at her, I was looking at this beautiful gallery, and I went home that night, I was like, oh my God, I just want to spill on the paper. So I just spilled on the paper, wrote it in one night. And I actually wrote it as 3 episodes. I was like, oh, this would be cool to have like a YouTube series on it, like a 1 minute, 2 minute short YouTube series. So I wrote it as actually 3 or 4 different episodes. And when I presented it to the director who directed it, he was like, let's put it together and make a short film and enter it to festivals. And I was like, all right. And that's kind of what happened with that. I took 3 or 4 episodes and I compiled them together.
Oh, so of those episodes, so they kind of just meshed together into like one film?
Yes. So how I wrote it is at the end of every episode, there was a cliffhanger. So
Okay.
people would want to see more. So it became a really interesting short because people would be like, oh my God, exactly where my cliffhanger would be. So
Ah.
it made for a great short because there was surprises and twists during the entire movie.
So would that project be considered like an anthology, or did they kind of correlated together, like cross
The
paths?
way I wrote it, it was so it can be back to back. So it'd be like one short movie essentially cut up. So it was just a blessing that it was like that. And I found that to be a great writing tactic because you want to end it at like something wow, a bang for the audience to want more, and then surprise them in the beginning of the next episode, and then just take them on this journey every time. And now I'm writing I wrote another short, and actually I wrote it the same way. I wrote it as separate pieces. And when I presented it again to to another director that wanted to direct it, he's like, let's put it together. That one was a little more complicated because I wrote it in different time sequences. So it
Okay.
was kind of, now that one I had to concentrate a little more, and how will it make sense as one film? Because she starts here, then I jump to a different thing, as the episodes. But that one was a little more complicated than Life Happens.
So why was that project different? Like, because I know you said it was a little different than your first project.
So
What
I
made
was
this
playing
one different?
around with timelines. I'm obsessed with when there's a movie or there's episodes where they jump timelines and you're trying, and it keeps you, on your toes. Like, wait, what happened there? What happened a month ago? What happened 3 days ago? When it goes back and forth. So
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with series like that or movies like that. So I wanted to see how I can take my writing and implement that feature. So I wrote it that way. So it was out of whack as far as timeline. But when I tried to put it all together in that order, it could get confusing for the audience. So it was basically like taking the pieces of, like, this one was a little longer. It was like six different puzzles,
Wow.
and then like connecting them. Then I would take bits from one episode, put it into. So that one took a little bit of coordinating, a
That's not,
lot more coordinating.
that sounds like a whole lot. And now you still working on it, or is it
Yeah.
out? Oh, it's still
It's in
working.
pre-production right
Oh,
now.
okay.
So we are
Pre-production.
totally starting pre-production. I am putting together actually a fundraiser to start funding that film. And our goal is to hopefully shoot it at the end of the year. But it depends on the funding we get, of course.
Oh, absolutely. You know what's a great comparison to what you're saying? You ever watch the show Westworld?
No,
What? Now
is it?
that
I will
show
put it on
you
my
would
list.
love. You need
Okay.
to put that show on your list because
Got
the way you explained it, they have, well, you don't notice until later. So the first episode, there's two timelines going on at the same time, but they
it.
correlate with each other, which is very important. So you
Yes.
need to pay attention to both storylines at the same time, or you'll miss something. But then at the end of it, you're like, wait, what? Every
Yeah.
single time. Every season is like the same thing.
And what's that on?
That's on HBO.
Okay, I'm gonna put that on my list. I love episodes like that. I'm excited.
You might get hooked. And granted, the new season actually comes out, I believe, in 2 months, which they just dropped the trailer like 3 months before it dropped. Like
Cool.
before it's
So
about to drop.
I have
You
time
got a
to
lot of
pass.
time. So after getting more, so do you feel like you do more of the writing and less of the producing, or are you just you doing both right now?
Well, all the productions that I've done is things I wrote. So after Life Happens, Then You Cry, I was approached by another director, and he wanted me to help him with his YouTube channel that had skits. So I started writing skits. And we're in pre-production for a few skits too that we're going to shoot here in the Lehigh Valley. So I started writing skits, comedic skits, and those took off. People loved it. They thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh, people like my writing. Cool.
That's always a great feeling.
Yeah. So anytime I write something, I produce it.
Okay, that makes sense. I do the same thing. When I write, I usually film it, and then most of the time I'll also producing it as well. But I mean, I feel like that's how you start.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna produce what you love at the end
Yeah.
of the day. You know,
Exactly.
Did you find that producing, I mean, granted, everything comes with like money issues. Like, did you
Yeah.
ever kind of had to slow down or just felt like, I don't know if this project's gonna budge because the budget is not really there and I can't really bring people, you know? Is that
Um,
an issue that
well,
you have faced?
well, that's kind of what not that I'm feeling that right now, but I definitely know I have to get this budget together in order to produce this movie. So it's definitely lighting a fire under me, trying to get creative, how I can accomplish our goal in order to execute the project. So I don't feel like it's not going to happen, because when you set your mind something, even if it's going to take a little bit longer, just get it done. And even if I have to go out of pocket, that's what I did with Life Happens. Me and the director, we were partners. We both went out of pocket. Some things were donated, some people were volunteering. So it was a combination of a lot of creatives getting together to make it happen. And that's the beauty, I think, of being in a network of amazing creators. We all help each other out. I'm down to help anybody get their project off the ground. So I hope that others would do the same for me.
Absolutely. Now, this is called Coffee and Critique. So, have what part? I guess what's your first project that you wish you could have done something different about it?
The first project,
Yeah.
I would probably say my first fashion show that I produced.
Okay.
The marketing was a little meh. The deco was, but I did have an amazing guy. Shout out to Uba. He was one of the artists that was performing, and he's also an audiovisual engineer and was the director of my film. We grew into a beautiful relationship. So he helped me out so much with the technical aspect of making the show awesome. But yeah, other than that, everything's learning. So I don't really regret anything. Every project has made me grow as a producer, has made me grow as an artist, has made me grow as a creative. So that's what it's all about. It's about learning along the way. So any mistakes that I've made with any project, it's only helped me be better.
And so could you highlight at least like 3 key features that you kind of improved on, especially from the first project into now, since you're obviously more advanced now? Like what did you know like significant? Like, I know I improved on this one. Like the top 3 things.
I definitely know I've improved in the quality and knowing, what is quality, what isn't, because I just was trusting a little bit too much instead of doing my own research. And now I'm surrounded by a lot of people that work with high quality gear and high quality visuals. So definitely that. Second would be the meticulousness of producing and pre-production. Lots of pre-production goes into any project I do. Just every detail. I know nothing is perfect, whether it's a live event or if it's a film event or a film project. Things go wrong. You're always problem solving. So trying to be as meticulous as possible so the day of it goes smoothly, but understanding that nothing is perfect, right, and letting go. So I'm a control freak. I am definitely a control freak. From my first project till I think Life Happens is when I made that big pivotal turn in just letting go and letting the people that know what they're doing and trusting them to do their own job. The lighting people know what they're doing. The audio people know what they're doing. My production coordinator, he's going to handle everything. So learning to trust is definitely one big one that I've learned. I'm not such a control freak anymore. Whoever I put on my team to work with me, I understand that they are good at what they do and I trust them.
I think that was really like, I was, not that I wasn't expecting it, but like that's definitely very tough, delegating power to someone else, especially a passion project. Because not to say we don't want anyone to mess it up, but we deep down inside we know they're not going to give it like 120% or 110%. Hell, not even 100% of the effort sometimes. Especially if sometimes they're not getting paid X amount of money. It's like, we understand. So then we kind of reserve giving the power to somebody else and be like, you know what? I'll take care of it. And then you get overwhelmed and you're just like, oh man, maybe I should have just trusted him to do this instead of me doing it myself. And you're like, but I that's definitely key, is the accountability and trusting your team is definitely what kind of drives the whole production. It's not just you.
Yeah.
It's like
And yeah, that was my biggest like accomplishment, and I'm so happy I did that because everyone just shined so bright on set, and it was beautiful. It was a collaboration. And again, I know a lot of writers, and I started seeing that myself, that are like very like, oh my God, don't change anything. I was just very open to the ideas because I just wanted it to be a good film. I wanted the ideas from obviously my director. I trusted him a lot. Our DP, we trusted him a lot. He called us, what did he say? He said we were ambitious. We thought it was a good thing. What he meant to say is, you're crazy.
that was like the nicest way. Like, yeah, you're very ambitious.
He's like, this is ambitious. We're like, yeah.
He's like, no, but yeah.
Yeah. So just, I love that I did that because everyone's input really made the film what it is. Yes, it was my writing driving the story, but the creative ideas that were thrown by everyone on board was what made it what it is. So I'm very happy that I'm not loosey-goosey, but I welcome ideas to my writing. I'm like, here you go. What do you think? And even with this next film that I'm working on with the director, he gave me a lot of ideas that I actually was thinking them, but I didn't know how to kind of say them out loud. I was like, I don't know if this works here. What can I do better? I was like, it works. And then he's like, what if we do this, that punch here? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what if we add this or implement this? And I'm like, oh my God, you're in my head. So sometimes it helps to let someone else see it in another pair of eyes and give you their feedback. And it can just turn out to be beautiful.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I had Moondog was working on my most recent project called The Hardest Part. And we were doing shots and I made a storyboard and everything. And then one shot, he was like, hey, man, we could probably cut down on these shots if we literally just do like one pull out shot, just a dolly back. And then I was like, bro, that was genius. And I saw, when you have two filmmakers, it's like I saw what he saw and it was easy to see. And the shot was pretty much, she was at the refrigerator. She's closing it. And then she's walking towards the camera, which reveals another door. And then she just goes in and disappears in the closet, which is quote unquote the basement. But it was just like that whole process, literally the shots that I even wrote down wouldn't have matched just doing that one shot. Because it's a suspense movie. And I like to add long shots to my film just to build that suspense. Like, wait, what's going on? Is somebody gonna pop out or something like that? So I thought, and trusting it, opposed to be like, nah, this is not gonna work. We're gonna do my shot. Maybe if we have time, we'll do your shot. I'm very open-minded. If it's a shot, and I'll even process it in my head. Even if I have doubt, I'll shoot my shot, and then I'll make time to shoot that recommended shot, because I just feel like a person that took the time to think about this might be better, that's valuable, because he could have just said nothing.
Yeah, that means they care. And shout out to Moondog. He was one of the producers and one of our cinematographers on set, and he brought so much value to the first movie. I'm so lucky to have had such an incredible team. And his input was wow. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
I bet his ears are ringing.
I'm sure he is.
That's funny. So do you have any shows that you kind of not aspire to be, but like, I want to be on kind of like that level? Like, that's the standard that I'm trying to reach. Is there any shows or movies that you would kind of aspire to kind of really grasp in comparison to yours?
That I would want to be in?
well, that too, but like more so like for your project, like, listen, I want, like, when people compare my work, I want it to be like something like, Christopher Nolan, or, just like, where do you want your standard to be up to? Like, where does it go? That's
a tough one. I I don't really care about being compared to like a director or another producer or another production. I just want it to be quality work that one makes the audience feel something and there's a message to it at the end. And something, me and Kuwa, my director, we say, is it watchable? Something watchable that the audience will enjoy and entertain. I like a variety of genres. I like comedy. I like drama. I love suspense. So I'm a little bit of an eclectic producer. Like my next film is not a serious. The other one was more comedy. This one's more drama and a little more serious. So I'm not sure yet which one I'd be compared to. I don't think I'd want to, but I do get inspiration from Sylvester Stallone is my biggest inspiration because he did it all. You know, he directed, he wrote, and he was starting it. And that's something people kept telling him he couldn't do. And he pushed beyond that and said, yes, I can. And I have, as a woman and as somebody who didn't study film per se, I learned on the jobs. I learned by being on set. I learned from experience. My career has all been based on experience. I know that it has been a challenge to go up against other people who say they're educated, they're doing this for years or whatnot. And it's a lot of people say, oh, well, I know a lot of people were like, she cannot pull off a movie. Like, who is this? She's an actress. And when I first said, I'm going to make a movie, some people were like, okay, let's see what happens. And I know others were very supportive. Obviously, that's why the project was able to get accomplished. But it's just about breaking the barriers. And I think Sylvester Stallone definitely broke a lot of barriers when people told him he couldn't. And just watching him direct, act, and, you know, make his writing come to life was just really inspiring. I've seen a few of his talks and a few of his behind the scenes. And he's definitely an inspiring figure for me, for sure. And Quentin Tarantino, one thing that really inspired me is, I think it was director's chair where, again, I didn't go to film school, so I don't know all the terminology. And he was talking about when he was doing Kill Bill, he's like, I didn't know what the camera was called. I didn't know what the lighting was called, but that's why I had these guys. I'm like, this is what I want. And this is how I want to do it. And look at this. And, you know, that's why you have your supportive team. And he was the same way. He's like, I didn't know what everything was for the technical terms, but I knew with my story and I knew what I wanted. And that's why you have a great team.
No, that, you know, and it's funny, especially with Sylvester and Quentin, like they have their own unique style. And it's interesting because Sylvester, if he didn't do that Rocky movie, then he wouldn't have, because of his success, they wouldn't have casted him to be any acting movies. He's like, no, I'm going to make it myself. I'm going to cast it and put myself in there. And then we'll go from there. And then look at him now. My man's an icon. Look at Quentin.
And it took so long. Yeah, it took so long for Rocky to get made because people didn't want him to star in it. And he said, no, it's my script. He even sold his dog. He went almost bankrupt believing that, no, this script is going to go somewhere and I'm going to be in it. I wrote it for myself. Nobody's going to stand in my way. And he did it. And he didn't stop for nobody. No naysayers got him down. He just kept going. And I think I really relate to him in that way. Again, like no matter what people say, this girl can't pull that off. I will pull it off. You know, challenging something.
Right. No, you definitely have to believe in yourself with any project you do, because at the end of the day, you saw some hope in it, and you said, you know what, if I keep watering this, it's definitely. It's not like you're looking for anything at the end. You're just like, listen, I have an idea. I want to share it with the world. You know, you know what I'm saying? If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. As long as you got that thought out there, you move on to the next project, you know, and just go from there.
Exactly. And my dad gave me this piece of advice that when I was in high school, no, I was in junior high, and I was like, oh, these girls don't like me or something. He always used to tell me, Sarah, you're not $100 bill. And I was like, what? He's like, not everyone's going to like you. I was like, okay, thanks, Dad. I'm $1,000 bill.
It's like, yeah, it's like we'll scale up. 100, no problem. We'll go up. That wasn't what you were talking about. Oh, okay. No, what I was gonna ask, but you also gave a bonus advice. was what advice would you give someone in your position of being like a writer producer? Like, what would you want them to really kind of hone in on moving forward if they just wanted to get started?
Sure. As well, there's very two different roles. As a producer, I would definitely say lots of research and be meticulous, pay attention to detail, and do lots and lots of research. Research is your friend as a producer. As a writer, I would say don't ever force it. I have gone months without writing because it didn't feel right. I have tried to force writing and it didn't feel right. And it's not going to be good. So don't ever force it. Don't ever force it.
That's definitely key. It took me probably 2 years to write a sequel to a short film. Was it worth it? Yes, it was worth it because I had to. Most of the time, I was doing research on because I had to understand what a narcissist was and a sociopath. So those are like within a solo character, and instead of me just having an idea of what it was, I actually had to break down what like how sociopaths like go about and move. And I was saying to myself, like, for what I thought it was, it's actually completely different. And it's somewhat horrifying because not every sociopath is someone that's trying to like kill anybody.
Right.
That's that's not that's a stereotype. Like you got a sociopath that's just they 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 don't have any violent intent, but sometimes they just don't understand certain things that they might say might like they don't really understand. Oh, I can see that's being like something that's not good. Oh, I didn't realize that. That's the difference. But there's people who go on the dark end of that spectrum, and then they just keep doing whatever. And then there's people who they're like, oh well, I just said it because it was a video I watched, and it was a woman explaining, she's a sociopath, and she was saying like I think she was saying, I don't understand how people might think I, might be a little more on the crude side. And then she goes in talking about how I think something with a dog or animal and that she didn't care for it or this, that, and like the way she explained. So what she was saying was pretty much making it worse. But she
like,
didn't
just stop.
Yeah, just stop. Just please, just just stop. But she kept on going, and it was the complete opposite of what she was trying to say. But at that point, watching that video for me, because that was part of my case study, was just she believed what she was saying, what she was doing. There was no wrong in it, like whatsoever. And I was like,
you're like, okay.
It's like, girl, right. Like, and I was just like, oh man. But then that's when it also sparked an idea for my character. And I said, this character really believes that, like, she created an app, which is a dating app. And essentially it's an entrapment for anyone she deems to be, I guess, unfit to live because they're bad. She considers them bad, so she uses this app that she created, a dating app, taking out people one by one. So it's like literally a spider's web within like the internet. So it's like a whole entrapment within itself. And yeah, and that's not so. That's just like she's the ultimate antagonist. The protagonist who didn't want to do the dating in the first place, he's kind of just going about it, and then he actually goes on a date with her, and then it's pretty much it's like love versus a scorn with like something like just hate, because she doesn't believe in love and she just feels like people use that as a means of manipulating people. Meanwhile, he's coming from a perspective that he did not believe in love after a breakup, but he was actually defending love. And then she saw it as more intriguing, so she actually postponed his death. But she didn't. So in the short that I originally wrote, she ended up killing him. But in the short film that I put on Amazon, she actually ends up kidnapping him, and I left it on that cliffhanger but she puts
I
it
was
in the
gonna say,
trunk.
did you just give us the ending?
Well,
Like, don't
no,
give
well, it's not new. It's not new. It's been out for a
up.
while. Yeah, it's been out for a while. So
No,
so
there's people that haven't seen it.
they
Cover
haven't
your
seen
ears.
it. Cover your ears. Spoiler alert. I'll just put a spoiler.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see it, I won't even tell you what happened. I won't
Yeah,
tell you.
I'm
I
done.
didn't tell you who it was though. You don't know who it was.
Oh,
You just
okay.
know that that person is in there.
All right.
Yeah, and
I have
those
to see this. I have to write a list now.
right.
So
You have
that's a secret
Westworld,
movie.
Midnight Chaser. That's number 2.
Midnight Chaser. Got
Yep.
it.
Yep. So those are like those like I do like a lot of case studies. So when I created this platform, is really to showcase artists and kind of have them explain like some of their process, as well as kind of highlight issues that they faced and how they overcame it. Because a lot of people, they get kind of discouraged to even move forward, but they need to understand that we all as a community, we all go through it, and these are some of the ways that you may use to kind of get through it in certain situations. Like with me, I usually use time as a factor with a deadline. I don't just like in 3 months or 2 months, let me revisit the material again, see if I have any additional notes, and then if I don't finish it then, no problem, I'll revisit in maybe another 3 months and then go from there. So sometimes I'll even go piece by piece. Like I'll do like maybe for every 3 months, I'll do like maybe an act. So maybe there's 4 acts. It'll take pretty much a year to get through it, but I'm perfectly fine with that process because at least I'll have time to research and then go forward.
Exactly.
You know, I think I did like a 76 page in like I think a week or 2 of just me locking myself away and just kind of just writing out these characters. Because what people don't get, you have to actually
discipline,
right? Yes, discipline. You have to, you have to somewhat be certain individual characters, the people that you write. I'm just like, wow, this is why it takes so long.
It's so funny because I was telling my friends, like, when I am writing, I'm like talking to myself, I'm here, I'm there. Like, I look like a crazy person. I can't write in public.
Because people aren't looking like, that's why people lock themselves away in like a cabin in the woods, because they're out here doing like a one-man band performance.
Exactly. But it's so much fun because you're like, oh, and I'm doing this, and then I'm the curry girl.
Right. It's like, what? It's like, I never know I could actually perform these characters.
Right.
And it's also fun too because, I made the main character, but then I started to relate more to the villain character and how they like their whole body gesture, like the whole demeanor about them. I was like, ooh, this is good. I feel like if you have a story with a really dynamic villain, I feel like people really like they lock onto that story because they want to either see that villain fall or maybe somewhat succeed in whatever they're doing. But that I feel is because the good guy is like they're very conservative.
He's fine.
They're fine. They don't need no change. It's only until the villain busts open the door and say, we're going to change everything around. Look at every movie you watch. The villain always wants to make this drastic change right now.
Right.
And then the main character's like, well, I like what's going on. So it's pretty much like a conservative mind versus like a mind that just wants to change everything. And it's like, that's why I feel like stories are interesting because you might relate to the person that's a conservative, or you might relate to like a character like Thanos, where he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna destroy half the planet. Y'all cool with that? Yeah. I'm doing it anyway.
Don't mind if I do.
Don't mind if I do. So I feel like those are the things that definitely I feel like are awesome qualities about just writing or just being a creative in general. It's just kind of revealing that type of vulnerability to your audience and even for yourself. Because sometimes we kind of holster those awesome things about us. And I feel like when we actually let loose and actually show that vulnerability, we're really kind of letting ourselves be ourselves.
Right. Absolutely. And like you said, everybody is different. Every audience member is different. They're going to relate to a slew of characters. So you really have to be meticulous and give love to each one that you write. You can't just throw in a character. You have to actually think thoroughly and, like you said, do your research on each one. You can't just, here's a character. I don't know what it does, but
it's like we're gonna find out together.
Right, exactly.
So it seems like Zoom is gonna give us our end soon.
Okay.
So I wanna let you give a note. We always kind of give a recommendation. Like, is there any things you want to shout out? Maybe a book that you want to let the audience know about that they should look into, or maybe a movie, anything that
All
you
right.
feel.
So obviously, my movie "Life Happens Then You Cry." Look it up.
There's the plug.
And a book that changed my life. Are we allowed to curse on here?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. A book that really changed my life and my perspective and when I was going through like a lot. It's called Unfuck Yourself.
I've heard about that book. I just haven't read it.
I recommend it. It is outstanding. It really changed my perspective about a lot of things and how I approach different situations in my life. And it's helped me, my career, my friendships, and throughout everything in my life. So definitely highly recommend that.
I'm definitely going to put that on my Amazon book list after I finish this book, which takes me so long.
What is it?
Atomic Habits.
Oh, I've heard of that. That's actually on my list. I'm reading, what is the one? Where is it? Oh my God. I lost it. Well, I'm reading Elevate Your Voice. That's by a local artist, Deb, and well, actually 15 women wrote it. But there's another one, Habits of Successful People, something. I have to get it back to you. So this is the book I'm reading, The Power of Habit. And I'm loving it so far. I'm in chapter 2, and it's been really opening my eyes to how to get into the habit of doing different things and how it can affect your life in a positive way. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for doing this. I know a lot of people would want to hear what others are doing, their processes, and take advice. That's what I do. I take pieces of advice from all the creatives around me. It's so helpful. So you can actually see some of my work, some of my skits, and Life Happens Then You Cry's trailer and some other stuff on my website, www.saraviteri.com, and Instagram, Sara La Princesa. So definitely find me. I love Instagram. I post a lot of stories if I'm on a production shoot, or I'll interview like short little bits, different artists around the area. So it's pretty fun. I try to keep it fun and entertaining.